just trickling in. This is really exciting to have so many people here. My name is Peter Simpson-Young, one of the team here at Coviu. We might just wait a moment before we get started. 57 people. That's great. We chose Google Meet as a platform because we thought it would be nice to have something smaller and interactive, not expecting so many registrations. We've had 150 registrations, so this is going to be less interactive than we'd hoped, but thank you all so much for joining us. Okay. It seems like now's a good time to start. So a bit of introduction. My name's Peter Simpson-Young. I'm one of the team here at Coviu. For context, I originally studied psychology, neuroscience, and philosophy at Sydney Uni, but then became obsessed with health technology, and so did a master's in that area. Back when I was doing my master's, I learned about Coviu, and it was actually one of the first 100 to sign up, back when it was the project at CSIRO. And one thing my friends all know about me is that I'm ridiculously obsessed with brains, brain tech, making art from brains, 3D printing brains, anything relating to brains, I am obsessed about. So the other presenters here today are Tony, who's the co-founder of ELR, and she's a practicing speech pathologist. And I won't explain ELR now, but effectively it's this insane resource, this huge resource for speech pathology. And Angela Kinsella is a consultant speech pathologist at Pearson Clinical. Bit of housekeeping before we get started. So we're meeting here today in Google Meet. We're doing this because we wanted it to be more interactive than a webinar. But as I mentioned, with so many attendees, I don't know how interactive we'll be able to get it. So Google Meet, for those who don't know, is a browser-based video calling solution. So it's like Coviu. You don't have to download anything. You don't have to. It works on any device. So that's great. We sometimes use some other webinar software, but Google Meet's free, and you could have up to 250 people on your video calls. Just to orient you guys, in Google Meet, you'll see in the bottom middle, you can mute or unmute your microphone. By default, best to keep your microphone muted so that Google Meet doesn't think you're presenting. And similarly, on the bottom, you can mute or unmute your camera. My suggestion would be that by default, if you could leave your camera off for now, like just to mute your camera or hide your camera, then people will, no one's going to be using their internet, but you just get higher resolution for the with what's being presented. At the top right-hand corner there is a little chat feature. Feel free to pop any questions in the chat. We've got a couple on the team from Coviu currently going to be answering questions via that chat sort of in real time. We will probably collect all the questions and answer the most pressing ones at the end for the last 10, 15 minutes. If someone's already asked a question that you're interested in, feel free to post it again so that we know what's which questions to prioritize. Feel free to copy and paste a question if you're also wondering it. So that's how questions will work. Use live chat, go nuts. As you may have noticed, this video is being recorded, this webinar, and that's so that we can send it all to you guys via email afterwards. We'll also send some follow-up. We'll do this early next week. We'll also send some follow-up resources that go into some of the topics we've discussed with greater depth. And it's a bit of an experiment with Google Meet, having so many people. And so I've created a backup webinar link in traditional webinar software, which if things don't work, I will email that link and post it in the chat so that we can try something else. So, agenda. First, I'm going to talk about Coviu's tools. Introduce Coviu. I'll talk about the tools that come within Coviu, and then some of the add-ons that you can get from our add-on marketplace. Then I'll pass over to Tony, who's going to talk about ELR, as well as some of the more advanced tools that Tony uses in her practice. And finally, I'll hand over to Angela Kinsella, who we'll talk about the Cell 5, and we'll finish with a Q&A. There'll be 5 minutes of that Q&A where I'll pass over to my colleague Alex, who actually has a question for you guys about what tools you'd like to see in Coviu. Hi, Alex. I think he's just unmuted his camera there. And so it'll be good to go. So as you guys probably know, well, I think about half of you guys are Coviu users, half of you are not. So I'll go through this really quickly, but as you may know, Coviu is Australia's leading telehealth platform. We've provided over 50,000 Australian healthcare professionals with over 1.7 million consultations. Coviu was originally a project as part of CSIRO, founded by a brilliant computer scientist named Dr. Sylvia Pfeiffer. It left CSIRO as a commercial product back in 2018, and was plodding along slowly until COVID, and as I'm sure you can imagine, has been going. It's been a very interesting time for telehealth. So one of the most common questions we get is, what's the difference between telehealth and teleconferencing, like Zoom and Microsoft Teams, Skype and Google Meet? And in our minds, there's 3 key differences. So the first is, to be compliant as a telehealth platform in Australia, you need to have what's called end-to-end encryption, which means that only the communicating users, namely you and the patients, can access that data. So the things you have with Google Meet and Zoom, etc., is that they are there in the middle with access to that data, whereas something like Coviu, everything is completely encrypted between you and the customer, the client. Pardon me. The other key thing, and this is why it was a research project at CSIRO originally, is that although video calling can be quite simple, delivering care is more complex. And that's because you've got a whole bunch of different stakeholders with different needs, right? So you've got clinicians with different needs from admin staff, with different needs from patients. And so, Coviu originally focused on how do you develop, the relevant clinical tools, which we'll be talking about today for the clinicians, the software integrations with like practice management software, et cetera, for the admin staff, and how do you keep it simple and secure for patients. And finally, as we'll be talking about a lot today, is clinical tools. So in Coviu, by default, we've got a whole bunch of tools, basic tools, which I'll walk you through in a moment, like whiteboards, screen sharing, payments, file sharing, etc. We've also got an add-on marketplace where there's a lot of other clinical tools that are available. So the ELR and the Cell 5 we'll talk about today. There's a Physio ROM, which is this AI-based range of motion assessment add-on. We've got integration with PMS. We've got ResApp, which allows you to diagnose respiratory issues with coughs. It's really a platform where other people have been building tools into the video call. So just to orient ourselves, I know that some of you will be familiar with Coviu, but Coviu is designed to be simple, which means there's really only 2 pages you'll ever use in Coviu. There's the dashboard, which is where you'll appear when you first sign in, which is where you'll do a lot of those administrative tasks, like inviting clients to your room, inviting your colleagues to your account, entering your rooms, etc. And then there's your user room, which is where you're actually going to deliver the telehealth consultation. So I won't go into any of these in depth today, but I just wanted you to know you'll probably see both of these 2 types of rooms today. So let me show you guys some of the add-ons that we're talking about and the tools. So here I am in my dashboard, and I'm just going to enter into my room so I can show you the tools. I'll just mention whilst this loads that I should qualify that what you're looking at today is going to be screen sharing within video calling is complex, and everything's going to look a lot more complex than when you're actually doing it yourself, right? Because here you are in Google Meet with all of this additional stuff going on, but when you're actually using these tools, they're all going to be a lot simpler. So here I am in my Coviu user room, which is where I would be meeting my clients. On the top right-hand corner, you can see here is my Add Tools bar. And this allows you to see the various tools that you've got in your call. So by default, there are 5 tools. I won't go into them all now, but I'll just show you this tool first off, called How to Add a Whiteboard. Now, when you add a whiteboard, this allows you and the clinician to, you and the client to interact. And you can, in fact, Coviu stands for collaborative viewing. The COVID link is a total coincidence. I don't know if that's great marketing or terrible marketing, but whatever. And so you can interact through this sort of dashboard at the top, these annotations bar. So you've got a whole bunch of things in here, like you can draw, your client can draw, everything they do is in different color. So you can type, remember this, whatever. And this is, this. And you can download the whiteboard. I'm showing the whiteboard now to point out this annotations bar at the top, because it's going to come up in a few instances. Now, you might have noticed a new button has appeared next to the Add Tools button, which are these 3 sheets. And this is the Active Tools bar. Now, in Coviu, you can have many tools open. And you'll see that as I open my next tool, it'll appear underneath my whiteboard. So next tool I'm going to open is how to share an image or PDF, which allows me to really upload an image or a PDF to collaboratively work on it together. So here I've uploaded this PNG, which I Googled earlier, speech therapy at Pathology form, and I found this. And so here I would be able to upload this into Coviu, and then I might use this stickers tool to go through and maybe mark this with the client and record that. The final tool I want to really quickly touch on is the start a screen share. And just like any other screen shares that you guys have used in other video calling tools, you've got different options, right? You can share your entire screen, you can share your application window, or you can share a Chrome tab, or like a tab within the browser. But one thing I would like to point out, which might be helpful, is how to make screen sharing simpler when you've only got one monitor. So right now, screen sharing for me is easy because I've got my Google Meet in front of me on my main laptop, and then on my second screen, I've got what I'm screen sharing. But one way to make this, to do a similar sort of thing, is using what's called a split screen. So if you're using Windows, so a split screen allows you to have 2 applications side by side, so that it's easier to, so you've got, say, Coviu on the left, or your teleconferencing on the left. You've got the thing you want to share on the right, so that you can share from one application, from the other application into Coviu. So in Windows 10, it's super easy. You click the application that you want on one half of the screen. You drag it to the side, and you should be able to see that there's like a line running down the middle of the screen. So it's sort of snapping to the side of the screen there. Now, it'll then ask you, what do you want on the other half of the screen? So I might want to pop on this other application. And so you can see here, I've now got my video calling application on the right and the other screen on the left. So if I wanted to do a screen share, I can click on my start a screen share, and I would choose the application I've got on the left half of the screen, like this. and then now I'm doing a screen share within a screen share within a screen share. I apologize, but that then allows, so you can have my client will be able to see. So I've currently, on my left side here, I have my dashboard, and on my within my Coviu room, I've shared the left half into Coviu. So I think that it's just as easy to do in a Mac. I'm not a Mac user, but I think learning how to do a split screen is super convenient and helpful. So I'll make sure we include details about split screening in the follow-up email, because it's a frequently underutilized tool. So I'm going to jump out of Coviu for a sec. I want to show you where to access all of the add-ons that you can use within Coviu. So here I am. I'm back in the dashboard, and I'm going to click on the Configure tab here, and then click on Add-ons, and then Find Add-ons. And then you can see here a list of add-ons that are available in Coviu. So to qualify, all three of us that are talking today are happy to go through things on one-on-one. I know we're moving really quickly, and it might be a bit confusing. So if you're stuck and you want to know more, we're all happy to set up one-on-ones later to actually go into the details of these things. But here I am in Coviu's add-on marketplace. We've got all of these different things that can be added into your room. Add-ons that can be used in your call. For example, here I've got the Self-5 add-on. If I scroll further down, I've got the ELR add-on for Coviu. And if I was to click on the ELR add-on, I was to install it, you won't see that page. I've just got lots of accounts because I work at Coviu. And I confirm the pricing of $2 per month. Then if I was to go back into my user room, that add-on will then be available to use. So I'll just show you that now. If I jump back into my user room, you'll now see I have this add-on here called the ELR for Coviu. So if you didn't follow all that, it's totally fine. We can show you probably one-on-one later. But the key thing is that there are some features that come with by default, and you can add on additional add-ons. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, with that Tony and Rob can explain their incredible work. Tony and Rob, just on mute. You're on mute. Control D. Yeah. I was going to mention, guys, if you just right. later, it would be ideal if you muted your video, so turned off your video, and you can do that just the bottom in the middle of
need to unmute
Google Meet, and that's just so we're getting as much the highest resolution for in.
Okay, Pete, can you hear me now?
Google Meet.
Can you hear me now, Pete? Pete, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Good. Thanks. Sorry about that. We're sort of within Coviu and as well Google Meet. So I've just shared our Coviu room, and you don't see me in video here, but it's just to show you that I've got a stack of things here prepared. So I'm going over to my my active tools, and the first one is a PDF of just briefly what we're going to show you today. So it shows you that we're going to be giving you a lightning sort of flavour of ELR, which will show you how to access the materials, how to do a session plan, and then we're going to show you a couple of other tools that I use a lot, the document camera, mirroring the iPad, and finally how a client, what it looks like for a client to access ELR free from the web after you've provided them with a program. And look, just to clarify, the Coviu cost for using ELR is a couple of dollars a month, but people need to also be a subscriber to ELR to be able to access the complete program. So now I'm going to go back to my stack and open up ELR for Coviu. And as a subscriber, you have a log-on user ID, and the one today is ELR 566. So you log on, and what I'll be showing you very briefly is the directory and then quickly the session planner. So the directory has everything in it. You see that it covers phonology for articulation, lots in literacy and a lot in language. And it works like a big filing cabinet. So I'll just open up phonology and pretend we've done an assessment and we're working on the k sound. You choose which position of the word, so say initial position, and you keep drilling down until you get to here where you've got a range of activities. You do get to know what the activities are after a while. So you've got memory, spinner, noughts and crosses. Those with an asterisk are picture-based, and there are always some higher level word-based activities so that if you've got older children. So just let me show, say, memory picks to give you an idea of how the tasks work. ELR is purposefully made so that the screens are fairly simple and non-distracting, but the beauty within Coviu is that interactivity is immediate. So I can start playing the game and then that wasn't a pair, so then the client has a go and then they play. Oh, did I see a pair there? I did. But there we go, I got a pair. So that's just playing memory and practicing. All ELR tasks can be modified. So if I flip it over, I just did the double arrow there to flip it over, you can present just pictures or both or just words. There's usually a more button which allows you to do, in this case, at the moment they are shuffled, but they can be unshuffled. The child or the client can decide what color they want to do it in. But the biggest thing about ELR that's different is that there is no speech or sound. And the main reason for that is that it encourages an interactive exchange between you and the client. And particularly as a lot of what we do is expressive language or phonology. So that's just a quick look at that activity, just to give you an idea that there are different sorts of activities. So this is a spinner game where somebody would start the game. I guess you'd decide whether you want it to be the car or the bike. So I got 3. So I would go 1, 2, 3. And then the only rule is that I need to click the chance button, and that's the k sound. That's the stimulus word that I would be practicing. And I think that's all I want to show you about this one. So we'll go, because I'm just really giving you an idea of what's around. So I'm going to close this one up now and get out of phonology and quickly show you some oral language. So in semantics, it's about vocabulary and word meanings. For example, in concepts, you might drill down and do spatial, maybe top, middle, bottom, and choose. Here we've got 3 different sorts of activities. If I choose this one, this is like a barrier game, and you just decide what color you want that to be in. So you can, because it's open-ended, I can give instructions, or you can take turn giving instructions. For example, put the apple on the top shelf. You can make it harder. You can say, put the banana and the cake on the bottom shelf, or you can take turns with the client like a barrier game. You'll notice with this particular task that these are called icons and they're draggable. Sometimes you'll see in some devices like tablets or iPads that the drag function doesn't work. In ELR, there's a fix for that. In the More button, you click there and you can change the mouse action from a drag to a click. So now if I want to put the fish on the middle shelf, I click the fish and just click it where it's going to go and it moves. Another big thing to remember is that all ELR tasks have help. By clicking the question mark, it tells you how to use the model, how to use the controls, the content. So in this case, in some cases, you would be cutting and pasting the target words and putting it in your notes, and any tips. That's a quick one with in concepts. You'll see in this area there's things to do with categories and associations, just for an idea of difficulty level. But look at word associations, synonyms, the hardest level with field of 8. This is an idea of the vocabulary level in this section. So these are quite tricky words. You could discuss all of the meanings and then click one, and then you're trying to find the other one that goes with it on the other side. So absorb. So you could spend time making sentences with those two different words and working out what the differences are. So that's a little quick look at semantics. There are also things like in using language, sequencing, familiar routines or narratives. These are sequence picture activities where you have them come into the screen, shuffled. They're already shuffled. If I took it off, they're in the correct order, and you can start with a very simple 2-picture sequence and then build up the complexity of the story and end up with the full sentence. This is to practice oral narrative. As I mentioned, the help will tell you how to use it. There's a print icon in every task, so you can print that, and it can be used. You cut and paste those activities for other hands-on paper-based tasks as well. So I'll close that. There are other things like problem solving and inferencing, lots of things. Really quick look at what's in literacy, in reading and spelling. There's a whole section on systematic synthetic phonics, arranged according to Jolly Phonics. But if you wanted targeted activities, you know that they have trouble spelling and reading vowel spelling patterns. You can choose whichever sound you want, the sound, and the different spelling patterns of that sound. So if we go ER spelling, level 1 are easy words, level 2 they get a bit more complex, and level 3 is multisyllabic. And you'll see there are like word searches, Smiley Man's like a hangman game. Word breaker model is great for multisyllabic words because you can click the word and you're trying to help them decode. So you might get them to see, well, where are the vowels? And it highlights that, and that tells you there are 2 syllables. And then you can go on, and it's sort of like a word study activity. So that's a really quick lightning look at it. If you were to want to plan your session, either plan a session to deliver right now or in a couple of days' time. Say now if we go into sentence processing, because you haven't seen it, and you want to work on pronouns or possessive or verb tense, you just go to where you want to go. Now, to select the activity, you just click here. So I want to get 2 from here, and I want to get a couple from phonological awareness, say, blending sounds. And I'll click 2 from there. So I have selected 4 activities that I might want to do in a session. These will appear in the session planner. They're ready to deliver from here. But if I click My Stack, then they're just ready to deliver in that way. Very easy to tell the client we're going to do this one and then this one, and then they just load straight away. You're ready to do that task. That's like she's got that and he's got the apple. So you can either see it in that way, or if you want to click details, it tells you as a clinician more about where they've come from. Okay, so that's looking at it that way. Say if you wanted to plan this session for a few days hence, if you click copy, then you can paste that into your notes, ready to just copy and paste in 3 days' time. So just pretend I've put that into my notes. Now, the next day I come to my notes and I copy, and I can just paste all of those in here, paste, and then we're ready to go and deliver it as I showed you before by just clicking My Stack. Okay, so that's a quick overview of how to prepare a session. By using this way too, I could have decided to give these as a home practice program for my client, in which case I would copy and paste them into an email or into a Word document and give them more instructions. So just keep that in your memory. Just pretend we've made that
So
session.
that's if someone's going to be doing it in telehealth, or if they're doing it outside of telehealth, if you're trying to...
Yeah, no, good question. So it would be that you want to give your client free guest access to do this at home, and we'll show you what it looks like from the client's perspective in a little while.
Just directly from the website.
Yeah. So the client then can access these tasks directly from the website, and they can access it free using your user ID. Does that help, Pete? Does that answer the question? Yeah. Okay, so I've shown you those things. So now we're going to show you a couple of tools. And the first one is, I'll let Rob take over. He's going to show you the document camera. So he's going up to the stack we've got there. And so
first of all, I'll introduce myself. I'm Rob, and this is just a picture of a document camera, just a flexible camera stand, usually plugged into USB on your computer. A large range of different ones and very easy to use. So go into Tony's tools again, and this time we'll actually go to the camera that's plugged in here. So we have this book under the camera.
Okay, so I've used this lots. This is like just me and my dad, so I can read a story to a young child, or it could be anything, but you can see that they can see the pages being turned, and we can talk about, we went camping, or point to it. And it's a really useful tool to have in therapy. We won't spend a lot of time on this. It's just to show you how easy and clear it is to deliver material in that way.
Okay, thanks. And then another tool that we've got loaded, and this just coming out of the active tools, I can just switch straight to it. And it's a screen sharing of a shared iPad. So I have an iPad that's shared, doing a share screen into this Coviu session. And we're using, this happens to be a Windows computer, so we're using an app called Reflector on the Windows computer, and just screen sharing directly from the Mac to that Windows, to that Reflector program, and then screen sharing that image. So it's a little complicated from what I've just described, but it's what we've ended up is just the iPad here on your shared screen. And I can just touch one of the apps that we've got open.
These are a couple of apps that I use for us speech pathologists. This is a good swallowing app, and I've used this in training. Actually, even some clients that have swallowing difficulties, it's a great app. But basically, you can do it via Telehealth as well. It's just shows the swallowing process. And within the app, there are other things you can do, but that's one app. And another example is for a young child. So this is a nice little oral narrative thing where it's story cubes, and you can select to have 3 or 4 cubes and then line them up, and then it's just to encourage the child to do a narrative story. So it's a great little app. And I mean, there are lots of little apps like that that you can share if you want to. The client can't interact with that app, but they can tell you things about what they want done. Okay, so that's mirroring the iPad. We're going to quickly show you now how a client, remember, I had prepared a little program for them you emailed them 4 activities to do for home access. Now, we'll show you what it looks like.
Yeah, so what I'm going to do first is, we're not in Coviu now, we're just switching to another tab on my browser into which I have put a copy of the email we're talking about. So I'm just going to copy all of that email, just as it is, just copy, And then we're going to move to yet another tab, which is just the web, straight from the web in the browser. We're looking at the ELR site. We go to guest access.
Now, I'll just stop for a minute. So in the instructions, clients are told to access via guest access, not the registered access, and they have only the ID, your code. They never have your other access details. So it's ELR 566. They put in a code, they log on, and then they can scroll down and paste the whole email into the paste box loader.
I'm just choosing paste. So that whole email is just stuck in that box, and I hit my stack. Oops. Sorry, I clicked the wrong thing. I'll do it again. My stack.
And they get shown those activities, and they would just be able to do those activities the way you did. They just click on it, do the activity. This is a pick pairs one where we're doing rhyming, I think. Hat, pear, bee, sea, mat, bear. So hat rhymes with mat. So that's they can just do their homework in that way. Okay, so we've basically, this is very fast, I know, but we've shown you a little bit about what the range in ELR, and now we're going to stop sharing. We're going to hand over to Angela, who will show you a.
Thank you, Tony. Hi, everyone. Lovely to see everyone, and thanks for having me, Pete. Right, let me share my screen. So, folks, what I'm going to show you now is how to access your Self-5 stimulus book through Coviu. Most of you in the audience would know that we partnered with Coviu, and we've made our Self-5 available as an add-on. Another Pearson clinical product that we have available for our psychologists is the WISC-5 stimulus book. Now, remember, what you can access on the through Coviu is only the Self-5 stimulus book. So essentially, you can see it's the print copy of it's the digital copy of the print copy that we're used to working with when we see children in clinic or face-to-face. You still do need your examiner's manual and your record forms. So why the examiner's manual? Well, you need to be able to read off the administration directions for each of the subtests, and then also your hard paper record form to capture the student's response. So you screen share this, and you set up your telehealth environment, and you screen share the digital stimulus book on the client's device, wherever they are, and you administer the Self-5 as if you were in clinic. For those of you who don't have easy access to the examiner's manual for the verbal stimuli, we have made available, and I'll just bring it up here, a 16-page document that you can download, and all the verbal instructions are there. So if you have that, your stimulus book through Coviu and your record form, you can conduct your assessment. So you'll see this is the front page, and then we also have the contents page. You can see that drop-down menu. So you can hop to any subtest you wish to use. My recommendation is, of course, administer the subtests in the order in which they appear. It's just neater and more organized, but of course you can administer the tests in any order. For today's webinar, of course, I can only show the demo and trial items, so that's why we'll be focusing on those. So we have sentence comprehension as per your print copy. You bring up your demo item, and then I read the verbal instructions. And you'll see Pete is also in my room. So this is the clinician's view. Pete is acting as the client or the student. And the reason we've got Pete in the room is because when we ask a client to show me anything, he can actually click on those, and we'll demonstrate those in a moment. So as clinicians, we're all very used to seeing the stimulus book, right? And once I've demonstrated the bits I'd like to share with you, I will hand over to Pete, and he's going to show you what the client or the subject sees from their perspective. Okay, Pete, let's look at these pictures. Okay, And the other thing, folks, that I want to show you is when I click, and Pete will show you this in a moment, he can actually see, has visibility exactly of where I'm clicking. So look at these pictures. I'm going to point to the picture that shows I can wear this, right? So Pete's actually seeing me click on that. Now you point to the picture that shows I can eat this, right? So you can see Pete's actually clicked. So I, as a clinician, have visibility of exactly where he's clicked. I then mark that on my high paper record form, right? Let's trial 2. Let's try some more. Look at these. Point 2, the boy has a ball. Okay, so Pete clicked on the boy has a ball. The other thing we'll notice up at the top here is a little icon with a little man or a lady or a person with a little X next to it. And we use that to clear the annotations, okay? So if a child self-corrects and says, no, I want to do that again, you can clear the annotations and repeat the trial item, right? I'm going to demonstrate following directions. Okay. So I find my my stimulus. I'm going to go to trial 1 for following directions. Okay, so obviously you deliver the demo, we're going on to the trial. Now, I would like you to point to the pictures in the order I tell you. Point to the circle and square. So what's neat about the way Coviu captures the child's annotations is you can see the order in which the child actually points, and then you're capturing those responses on the record form. The other functionality I'd like to point out, again, here in your toolbar, you've got this little icon where you can hide the page, and you'll see down the bottom, it shows us that this particular page now is not visible to subjects. So at this point, I'll hand over to Pete, and he's going to show you what the client sees.
Thanks for that, Angela. I'll just start my screen share so that you can see what I see. I take it you can see my Coviu screen.
No, we can't see it yet.
Not yet, Pete.
Yeah.
It's coming.
Okay, great. So yes, so everything you just saw on Angela's screen was the clinician's view when using the Self-5 add-on in Coviu. And what you're looking at now is the client's view. So it's slightly different. And you'll see some of the key things are, on my screen, it's much simpler than the clinician's view. I can only see Angela. I can't see my own video, so I can't get distracted by that. My my toolbar at the top is now missing, so I can't accidentally click out of it. I can't get distracted by tools. It's, you actually, if the client brings their mouse up the top, they can actually bring it back. So it's not gone; it's just hidden, and they're not able to adjust the size of the page or anything like that. You can see here, I can see the client's mouse, so Angela can direct my attention to things, and when she clicks, then there's a little marker there drawing my attention to that marker. So that's it for the Self-5 demo. I'll just quickly point out a couple of things. We're going to send through an email after this early next week with some more resources. But if you have any more questions, feel free to jump onto Coviu's website and chat to us via live chat. You can also email us, give us a call, anything like that. Always happy to answer questions, and we can set up a one-on-one demo if you guys like. So the live chat, you'll get a little pop-up like this where you can communicate with us. We're also on the socials, of course. If you want to stay up to date with what what we're developing. We're very quickly developing a lot of new tools. We've had a lot of people reach out and ask about tools they'd like to see, or other companies developing new tools for Covids, which Alex will discuss in a moment. But yeah, let's jump over to a Q&A. Alex, did you want to kick that off with a question for the audience?
Thanks, Pete. I'm going to assume everyone can hear me okay. Thanks for running through all the benefits, and thanks to our speakers for walking through your respective products. It's really exciting that we have a growing range of functionality on the Coviu platform that allows speech therapists and a whole range of clinicians to deliver care in a really effective way. What we've done is we've opened up the Coviu platform to our partners like Pearson and ELR to bring their existing and proven functionality onto Coviu. And so what we'd love to know is if there's other pieces of functionality that you currently use in your face-to-face practice, or other pieces of tooling or methodology or existing assessment tools, anything that can help you perform both diagnosis and treatment and your consultations more effectively remotely. We would love to hear about that, because we'd love to have conversations with those companies, or consider building some tooling ourselves. So what I'd like to do to give everyone the time to think this through is I'll put together a simple form. I'll share the link for the form in. I'm already seeing some suggestions coming through. That's great to see. I'll share the form, which will allow you to talk about the way you some of the tools you might currently use, and some of the functionality or tools that you would really like to see, as well as the option, if you so choose, to stay in touch with us about new functionality and get early access to that. So Pete, I'm happy to drop that form in the chat now, and that'll give everybody time to give us some feedback, either while you're still on the call or at another time. That's all from me, Pete.
Thanks so much, Alex. And for context, Alex is our partnerships manager at Coviu, so he has driven a lot of the add-ons that have become available. So I think it's a great opportunity to really influence how telehealth is used amongst speech therapists in Australia and internationally. So I think it's a great opportunity to complete that form. Thanks a lot, Alex. So a couple of questions we've been getting. A few of them have been about Health Direct using add-ons. So many of you guys know Health Direct is a large provider of telehealth, and a lot of PHNs have a free account with Health Direct. Health Direct is built using Coviu. It's you probably all noticed that it's identical, and it's because Coviu is that powers Health Direct. At the moment, you can't use Coviu's add-ons in Health Direct. Yes, that's all I would say. Yeah, so the ELR and Self5 can't be used specifically. However, the Self5, you could do something similar with the screen share. It just doesn't have. So you could have like a Self5, the digital stimulus book, on a separate screen or application, and then you could share using the standard screen share, which is in Health Direct. But of course, you're not going to have that interactivity. You can't see where they've clicked and that sort of thing. So it's not going to be nearly the same. So there's a few questions also about the difference between Zoom and Coviu. I think I mentioned earlier on at the beginning that in our mind there's a couple of key differences. One's about encryption. So Coviu's been we're endorsed by APS, Australian Psychological Society, Australian Physiotherapy Association. Like a lot of the industry associations endorse Coviu specifically because of our end-to-end encryption. So the risks you have with things like Zoom is you just don't you can't control who has access to that data. Whereas with Coviu, the reason it was a big, complex CSIRO project initially was trying to solve that problem of how do you do, end-to-end encrypted video calling. And of course, although there's lots of things you can do in Zoom, there's not the add-ons like that we've been discussing. So of course, Zoom's a great platform. It's amazing, but it's just not telehealth. Do we have any specific questions? Questions. In fact, we've got time. Feel free to unmute yourself and just ask a question to any of us.
Hello, it's Eva here. I just want to thank Tony and Rob. I'm a big believer in ELR, having used it for 20 years now. When we started out, there were 2,000 tasks that I remember, and just checking in with Tony and Rob, how many tasks are there now to choose from, please?
Thanks, Eva. Roughly 14,500.
Okay, so at 14,500 tasks, the sky's the limit as far as speech pathology goes. The range is incredible. I just want to remind everybody, ELR is there for easy access. I am a big fan. We actually have some team members now from America who have joined in with us. They're using it as well from Albuquerque, New Mexico. This is a tool that could be used worldwide. I just encourage you to explore it. And for me, it's the best value money I spend in my clinic every year.
Thank you very much, Eva. We're aware that probably usually when we show speech pathologists, it all makes sense, but sometimes it can seem daunting. But we do regular online demonstrations and support in that way. So thanks, Eva. If anyone's interested, they just need to contact.
Thanks, Rob and Tony. I will also extend out a big thanks to Angela from Pearson. Angela's always available when we contact her for any of the tech issues that we have. Angela is a very highly valued colleague. I'm really excited to see that the Cell 5 has also been an add-on in Coviu. Angela, look, I don't know what we would do without you, honestly. Thank you very much for everything you do, and it's really exciting to see the presentation today, and thank you to Coviu as well.
That's lovely. Thank you, Eva. Thank you for everyone for your support.
One great question from Jeanette was any freebies to get used to the process. So with Coviu, there's a 2-week free trial. So all you do, just go to the website, choose a plan, create an account. You don't have to add your credit card details or anything, and have a play that way. You can install the add-ons the same way. You're not going to be paying for those until you start a proper paid plan. So there's no commitment there if you just want to play around. We'll send some links on how to get started in Coviu as well, but it really is a brilliantly designed, very simple program. And I'm not just saying that because I've just noticed that the CEO, Sylvia Pfeiffer, is in the audience. She's also made the point that there's no whiteboard in Zoom. Also, update from Sylvia, Coviu are working with Health Direct to ensure that the add-ons can be available in Health Direct. And so that's really exciting. If you're a Health Direct user and you want to inform which add-ons ought to be available in the future, then please fill out Alex's form and we'll get some more helpful information there. Any other questions? Oh, sorry, there was a whiteboard in Zoom. Sorry, I misinterpreted that point. No more questions? Okay. Someone's making sound. Okay, well, let's wrap. Thank you all so much for joining us. We'll send a follow-up email early next week. with a recording, which you're more than welcome to share. And we hope to see you around in Coviu. Thank you all so much for joining us today. And thank you to the presenters for sharing their amazing work.
Thanks, Pete. Take care. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.